Hey guys, I'll be going through some of the deck list that was topping at the event Wildcard Cyclone. So if you guys are interested in joining these small tournaments that are incrementally getting bigger at this particular place, they're going to be handing out participation cards for Edison that are either high rarity or just low rarity. But they're going to be Edison staples for participation at these events. So if you guys are interested in joining these events, definitely join Wildcard Cyclone in Temple City. Okay, so we're going to go through the deck list each one by one. First place here we have Alberto Gutierrez with Vayu Turbo. So his deck list was different than the other Vayu Turbos, so I guess Vayu Turbos are not all the same. This Vayu Turbo maximizes on, or doesn't maximize on Hamster, but it uses Hamster here to pretty much have a really good first turn. Wherever they attack it, with any monster, they can set a Raikou from the deck. Plays a Spirit Reaper. I don't think Vayu Turbo plays Spirit Reaper anymore, but I think now with the inclusion of Spirit Reaper in the meta, where lots of things have trouble running over, such as Absolute Zero, you can definitely capitalize on the effect that Spirit Reaper can be destroyed by battle. They'll have to tribute the Absolute Zero to destroy it. Other cards that he does play that's interesting is the Armageddon Knight. He does play two of them. Giving up a normal summon to play the Armageddon Knight has fallen out of favor for Value Turbo, but now he's incorporating it back in the deck just because you can dump a Plague Spreader zombie in the graveyard. That being able to make it so that you can make a level 6 Synchro with only two cards is pretty good. He also plays two Kai's so that's pretty staple. Only one impression in the main deck. Two Dust Tornadoes for the Bottomless Trap Hole. The Bottomless Trap Hole is usually one of the biggest things against the deck because when they try to make an Arm Wing, they want the Arm Wing to go to the graveyard, so they want to be able to stop the Bottomless somehow. Blind Dust Tornado is one of the ways you can do so. You also have Raikou 2 to pop the back rows so that the Arm Wing comes out safely. Pretty nice ratio between monsters, spells, and traps. Only 23 monsters for Value Turbo, so that's pretty impressive. And the standard traps. Side deck, he plays a Starlight Road to stop the Black Rose from coming down. But Black Rose usually isn't a huge issue for this deck, as you can float into from value to value. I'm not sure why he plays it. Maybe a Heavy Storm to protect the Oppression, but the Oppression can negate the Starlight Rose, so I'm not entirely sure. He also plays One Pulling the Rug. One Pulling the Rug is interesting. Maybe he just wants to resolve One Pulling the Rug so that the Caius or the Ryza goes off the field so that they can just turbo out their values. They could turbo out their arm wings and just go for a decay. So I guess I could see the logic behind that. Two compulsory for the mirror match so that they can put back the arm wing. I think that's the only reason why he would have this in the side deck. He also has Deck Devastation Virus. Very good card when you only need to resolve one. So I guess if you're drawing with Allure Darkness, you can see the Deck Devastation Virus more often. In my build of Value Turbo, I would definitely have two in the side deck just because you might not see the first one. Then he decides a second Oppression for decks that just hard lose to Oppression. Soul Release for Lightsworn. I guess JD is a problem. And one DD Warrior Lady, I'm not entirely sure why he plays it. He does have the reinforcements of the army to search for it. So definitely a good choice. He could definitely deal with threats that only DD Warrior Lady can deal with. Then we have one Kaiku, probably from the mirror match as well, but also against DD Crow as well. So if you summon the Kaiku here, it will be too late to respond with DD Crow, and then you can just use your value effect and banish from your graveyard, and then have your Armwing live. Two of the Fossil Dyna. The Fossil Dyna will be able to stop all the defensive hand traps such as Tragodia and Gores and Battle Fader. So I could definitely see that being sided against that. Also good against Frog Monarchs too, because the new iteration of Frog Monarchs has to rely on Soul Exchange and Regeki Break to deal with the Fossil Dyna. But it's going to be very difficult to run over a Dupe Frog or a Substitute. So he would have to set this card and then flip it to destroy the Dupe Lock. So it has a lot of application for sure. We have Thunder King Ryo in the side deck as well. I'm not sure why he would side it. Maybe against Black Wings to stop the Black Whirlwind searches. Maybe to stop synchro plays. That's always really nice too. So that's definitely unique, I think, in the Value Turbo. Then we have the two Cyber Dragon because it's a must in every side deck in Edison. Okay, we have our one Chimera Tech, the Armory Arm. So he can probably make the Armory Arm with a Raikou and the Plague. Not sure how else he would use it, but maybe he's trying to go for the Colossal Fire Armory Arm OTK. Okay, so I can totally see how he can make it. So he can flip the Raikou, normal summon the Plague, and then make the Armory Arm, and then make the Arm Wing if you have it in the graveyard, and then top deck for Plague and make Colossal Fighter. So he definitely has that option available to him in one turn, so long as his Raikou stays alive and he draws a Plague Spreader Zombie. So hard drawing the Plague Spreader Zombie and having the Raikou face up on the field. We have Catastor, Bryo. Yeah, pretty standard list from the rest of it. So yeah, again, congratulations to Albert Gutierrez. So on to the next one. So this is the second Vayu Turbo list by Shin Lee. So congratulations to Shin Lee for getting second place at Wildcard Cyclone. Like Albert, he does play the Armageddon Knight. So I guess Armageddon Knight is coming back into the format with Vayu Turbo. He only plays one hamster, so I guess he doesn't want to draw into the second copy of it. And he plays the Chaos Sorcerer. I really love Chaos Sorcerer and Vayu Turbo just because you play the Raikou engine, and especially you also play the Charge Light Brigade. Charge Light Brigade, like I said, mentioned before in Vayu Turbo, reduces the opportunity cost where you don't have to wait for Raikou to be set and flipped and attacked to mill 3. With Charge of Light Brigade, you can mill right away, and you can also mill an additional 3. So that's the idea behind Vayu Turbo, in my opinion, is to be able to do so. The only downside of reducing your opportunity cost is that you might mill your spells, such as Return from Burial from a different dimension. But other than that, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't want to keep any of these traps against most of the matchups. Maybe in the mirror match, the bottomless trap hole is really good, but not entirely sure. But I really like the Charge of Light Brigade here. Lila is also a good addition too, because you can normal summon her to bait out the bottomless trap hole. And if people fall, if you bait people into bottomlessing the Lila, then you can actually activate the Vayu and the Sirocco pretty safely. Unlike Albert, he does play the Gale. I'm pretty sure Albert doesn't play the Gale. Let me just go back. Oh, he does play Gale. Sorry. So he does play Gale, so never mind. So Gale is definitely a staple in the Vayu Turbo. He does play the two Caiuses and the Card Trooper. Not sure if Albert plays the Card Trooper, and he does not. Okay, so instead of the Spirit Reaper, he does play the Card Trooper instead. So he's going really for the Turbo Mill. I think Gores was also on Albert's list too. Let me see here. No, he doesn't play Gores. Wow, that's actually pretty surprising. Yeah, so this deck does play Gores, and the other person does not play Gores. Wow. So I guess Gores is really unnecessary if you do have continuous trap cards. In this case, he doesn't main the Oppression, so it makes sense that he mains the Gores. Okay, let's go to the side deck here. He does play one Cyber Dragon for the Chimera Tech Fortress. Then he has two DD Crows, probably from the mirror match. And only, and like the other guy, he only plays one Deck Devastation Virus. So I guess Deck Devastation Virus is one of those cards where you just want to resolve one of it and you win the game. Makes sense. It's just that it's going to be really hard to see the copy if you only play one. He plays two Oppression in the side deck, so I guess certain matchups where Oppression is really good, he definitely has hate for that. Also has two Pulling the Rug. Unlike Albert, where he only has one Pulling the Rug, he has two. So Pulling the Rug would be able to resolve back to back. But it's funny because this deck is more turbo than this version, and he only sides only one Pulling the Rug, so he only wants to resolve one. Whereas he plays two Pulling the Rug, he wants to resolve two, but his deck is more turbo. So it's kind of funny. He has a side deck for compulsory, so a main deck compulsory and a side deck compulsory for the mirror match, I assume. So I guess it comes down to who sees the most compulsory. And then one Fossil Dyna and one Kaiku. Pretty standard side deck as it would appear for Vayu Turbo. And he also plays the Army Arm Classifier OTK. And he plays two Arm Wings and two Armor Masters. Congrats to Shin Lin for second place, and on to the next one. All right, for third place, we have Lightsworn. Third place to Raymond Lee. So congrats to Raymond Lee for third place for going X1. So he plays a very Twilight variant of Lightsworn. So I know you guys all love Lights, or for those Lightsworn players out there, here's another list for you guys. The one thing I see that pops out in my mind is the Puddle, or the Phantom of Chaos. This is a very slept-on card for Lightsworn, just because you could mill a Judgment Dragon theoretically, and normal summon the Puddle, and then call priority to banish the JD. And then if it's still on the field after that, you could just activate JD's effect that he copies and blow up the field. So it's a normal summon, blow up the field. I think that's a really good. But unfortunately, he's not searchable, so he's most likely going to be milled. But since you are playing the three recharges, hopefully you are able to see the Phantom of Chaos and mill JD. The only downside of playing the Phantom of Chaos in your deck is that once you banish the JD, there's no way to recur him back to your deck or your hand. So Beckoning Light would actually lose a lot of value. But I guess in hindsight, or I guess the payoff is really nice because you can blow up the field and then special summon your second JD if you do have it, and then deal 3,000 damage. The only downside to Phantom of Chaos, another downside, is that he can't do battle damage, so you can't attack for 3,000 even though he copies the attack. But at least you can run over a monster. He also plays Chaos Sorcerer, which I really love in Twilight builds of Lightsworn. But the only thing that's different about this and a regular Twilight deck is that he does not play Dark Arm Dragon, which makes a lot of sense because Dark Arm Dragon has trouble getting dark monsters in the graveyard anyways. So yeah, good on him for not playing it. Plays a Plague Spreader Zombie like most lists, but he also plays a Magical Merchant. So this card allows you to see the spells in your deck if you do mill. It also helps you mill too, so you can set it and people think it's a Raikou, and then when they attack into it, they're very surprised by the milling that happens with Magical Merchant. He does play a lot of spells and traps in his deck. I think he plays 4, 8, 12, 15. So it's very likely that he'll only excavate a few number of monsters before he gets to his spell cards. That pretty staple. Plays the Arcus, one of Jane, one of Lumina. So it's probably very difficult for him to get different names in the graveyard, even though he does play one copy of everything. He's most likely going to be milling Wolves and Raikos and stuff. But yeah, two Gold Sarks to him for consistency, and a Trap Dust Shoot, which is really surprising for me. Maybe he wants to Dust Shoot the Gores so they can OTK with the Lightsworn package. Side deck, he plays a 2 Decree, very standard if you're playing Lightsworn, so you can hit the Light Imprisoning Mirror just because it stops you from milling. Plays 2 Soul Release for the Mirror Match because you can also modulate the number of lights in your graveyard, but I don't see this. This is mainly used if you are playing Christia, so you can modulate the number of fairies in your graveyard, so you can play as Archlord Christia. So he's probably just siding it so for the mirror match. Two of the My Body as a Shield. It's really good against the mirror match because if you set this card and they special summon JD, you can just blow up the field. However, that's not a really good strategy because they can just summon Lila, pop it, and then do JD. So I don't know why he would play this. Maybe to protect his board against like Lightning Vortex. Yeah, that's definitely a card that people side against Lightsworn because they like to go wide through RNG, through milling Wolf and summoning Lumina and then discarding a special summon. So you get the idea. So probably he sides this to stop the Lightning Vortex. So that's the counter side strategy. Two Thunder King Ryo. So I guess Thunder King Ryo is a very popular side deck nowadays. And I can see why because when they special summon JD, you just negate the special summon of JD with the Thunder King Ryo. So definitely I could see that being used for the mirror match. Kaiku is also for the mirror match, so I guess he really didn't like the mirror match, so he does have a lot of ways to tackle the mirror match. Kaiku, if you guys don't know, if he does do battle damage, you can banish Lightsworns, or you can banish any monster, sorry, not just Lightsworns. You can banish Lightsworns from the graveyard on your opponent's side so that they don't have the names necessary for bringing out Judgment Dragon. One DD Crow for the same reason, and Vayu Turbo, I guess. And then we have the two Consecrated Light for Black Wings, and the Cyber Dragon because it's stable. Time, I guess he plays the Tempest Magician. I think they're going by the time rules where it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But in case they're not, and they're doing the end of phase time rules, Tempest Magician would be really good for time. Then we have Stardust. Revive King Hades is really surprising, as he does not have any zombies in his graveyard. But I can see if he brain controls it. He does not play brain control. Okay. So I don't know why he plays it then. Revive King Hades needs a non-zombie tuner. Maybe Lightsworns just can't use up all their extra deck space, so he probably just slotted this in. Maybe with Tragodia, he can steal a level 4 zombie and then summon the Plague Spreader zombie, so that's one way he can do it. But he does not play Brain Control, which is really surprising to me. He plays Mistworm, you can make that with Lumina, any level 4 and a Plague Spreader zombie. Darken, Colossal Fighter. Air Knight is interesting. Air Knight, I think you just need a light non-tuner, so you can definitely just use the Plague Spreader zombie. And he's also a fairy too, but he's not playing Christia Sworn. And then he plays the Catastrophe. Okay, so yeah, congratulations again to Raymond Lee for third place. On to the next one. And in fourth place, but not the least place, we have a Trap Dragon list thanks to Mr. Leo Young. So always nice to see dragons do well in tournaments, especially at a local level. And I always like seeing local level lists because it's always going to be a little bit spicy. Okay, so I'm not much of a dragon specialist, but I'll do my best to try to tell you guys what the combos are. One thing right off the bat, and my friend Danny, he plays this particular deck all the time, is that he doesn't play Trident Dragion. So if I could recommend to Mr. Leo Young to play Trident Dragion, you could definitely use it with Prime Material Dragon and the Breed Dragon. If you ever have those two copies in your hand, you can actually just make a Trident Dragion and go for game. So I don't know if all these guys are staples in the Dragon deck, but he definitely plays the one thing that does stand out to me is he plays the Absolute Zero, and the reason why he does that is because he sides Super Polymerization. So I guess he has a really bad matchup against Absolute Zero, so he can probably fuse away in the Diva Hero matchup the Absolute Zero, and then their Water Monster, or Absolute Zero and a Hero Monster, and then to make the Absolute Zero. So I could see that as being a trap card that he can use. Being a non-dark and non-light monster means that Quakimaru Drago can't interfere with the game plan. So Quakimaru Drago is really good against other decks where dark and light is being used, such as fairies. Even Diva Hero sometimes likes to special summon dark monsters, such as Evil Hero, Infernal Prodigy. Those are cards that dark monsters that they have to use special summon. Other matches is this is good against is also against Vayu Turbo 2, so definitely good. But surprisingly, it didn't do so well for him in this tournament because Quakimaru Drago could theoretically lock out Vayu Turbo from being to play their game plan. So I guess it wasn't as good as it was in paper, or maybe he just didn't find a way to dump Quakimaru Drago because Feature Fusion is a it's a one-of card, but he does play the two cool sarcophagus to search for the Future Fusion. So I'm not entirely sure how he played the deck. Yeah, so other than that, it is the Trap Dragon version, so he's playing a lot of traps to protect his back row and also Future Fusion, so he can protect Future Fusion with Starlight Road and Solemn Judgment. So that's pretty good on that. He plays the Recruiter Mass Dragon that has several targets. He can go into Totem Dragon. He can go into Debris Dragon if he really wanted to. I think he can put it in defense mode too. I'm not entirely sure. And he also has the Exploder Wing Dragon to deal with any big monsters. He also plays the one Smashing Ground. I think the reason why he plays the DD Warrior in Smashing Ground is to deal with cards like Armor Master and Spirit Reaper. Those are two cards that stall really well against dragons. But Spirit Reaper in general does it better because you don't have to special summon Armor Master, whereas you can just set the Spirit Reaper. I guess you can also side this against like Marshmallow or any deck that just likes to stall. All the recruiter decks that like to float into other recruiters, the DD War Lady is really good there too as well. But other than that, True Nade allows them to push for game with multiple red MDs. You can use the effect of red MD to special summon another dragon, and then banish that dragon to special summon another red MD, and then use that red MD to special summon another dragon. So I can see why True Nade would be used in that scenario. So enough about the main deck. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention, Totem Dragon has this weird effect where if there's other monsters that are not dragons in the graveyard, he can't come out of the graveyard like Treeborn does. That's why he plays the DD Warrior Lady so that she can banish herself off the field and not in the graveyard. But I can see that conflicting, especially if he makes the Absolute Zero or Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon being sent to the graveyard. So just there's some confliction that I can see potentially happening where if you have a Totem Dragon but also an Absolute Zero in the graveyard, you won't be able to bring out the Totem Dragon. So that's going to be some sort of confliction in my opinion. He plays the My Body's a Shield, probably to stop like Bottomless Trap Hole when the five-headed dragon comes out, because it is a really big monster. So I can see him wanting to protect that if he doesn't have the Prime Material Dragon out by then. Yeah, side deck he sides the Nullman Crossout, really good against slower decks. Also really good against Spear Reaper if they set it. So yeah, that's really good. Two Cyber Dragon, the Light and Darkness Dragon, he would have to hard draw the Light and Darkness Dragon to have value out of it, because you can't really dump Light and Darkness Dragon because he can't be special summoned from the graveyard. So probably he just texts it in case he does draw it. And it's really good against decks that like have like a lot of normal spells and normal traps in their deck, so it trades really well into that. He sides a 2 Decree 2 for a Trap Dragon. This is really surprising to me. I'm not entirely sure what hurts dragons. A trap that hurts dragons. Maybe Bottomless Trap Hole is the only thing I can think of. But yeah, maybe he just likes to smoke screen while people side in more traps against the dragon deck. He'll side in the Decree or something. Maybe this is more for oppression so that he can special summon his dragons. Yeah, I can see that. And then two Dose Tornadoes for the oppression, I guess. Yeah, side deck or the extra deck's pretty standard for dragons. He plays the Exploder Wing Dragon. That's not commonly seen across other Edison decks, except for dragons. He also plays the Iron Chain Dragon. Iron Chain Dragon is also a level 6 dragon too, so you can use the debris with Iron Chain Dragon to make Trident Dragon. So yeah, definitely interesting to see that. He plays a 2 5-headed dragon just in case he has the True Nade and the first 5-headed dragon comes out, and then he can resolve the Future Fusion after the Giant True Nade gets resolved. But yeah, congratulations to Mr. Leo Young for 4th place with Trap Dragons. And that'll be all for the top 4 deck lists. I hope you guys enjoyed the deck list video. And I'll definitely have more deck list videos for any sort of tournaments that go around in SoCal. But for now, signing off, playtest IRL. Peace out.